the Fool is the one we want to be, the one we are and the one we want to be. The one we are in the sense, of course, we have always so much to learn and we are naive, but also we want to be him because we want to almost appear completely stupid to the rest of the world who we know don't know. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm quickly popping on YouTube because I want to talk about a deck that I personally really love for many different reasons that I feel is underrated. And it's the Tarot of a Moon Garden. I made this box. I will also one of these days make a video or two about how I make tarot boxes because there are different materials that I use, like cardboard or even wood. There are different models and different types of boxes that I make. But this isn't about the boxes, although I must admit, this one did turn out pretty darn cute, didn't it? This is about the Tarot of the Moon Garden. This is my inner child deck. And yeah, we're gonna flip through a few of these cards and tell you why I like this deck and I work with this deck still. So if you own it, please grab your copy and look at the deck with me. That would be so much fun to do. All right, so first of all, this is my 90s vintage copy that I got secondhand, fully reversible backs. I think this deck gets a lot of hate because of the huge borders on the side, because there's obviously the white border that includes the copyright, even though it's quite small. This is a US Games deck. But it also has this, I mean, it's part of the artwork to me. This outer border that's very decorative and has this ombre color from blue to purple. Now, this I call my inner child deck, not because I only do inner child work with it. I work with this deck for many different reasons. It's just a regular old Rider-Waite-Smith clone, almost. Not really. It's actually quite surprising tarot deck. But I use this easily for client readings, and it's just different but similar to Rider-Waite-Smith. If you know the Rider-Waite-Smith, then this deck is a good gateway actually to get to know and work with pip decks, more abstract decks. But here is the Nine of Pentacles, for instance, and just look at how pretty this artwork is. I mean, all the pentacles in this deck are either planets or bubbles or whatever you see in them. Bubbles in Minecraft I tend to see as blessings in a way, even though I don't really love that word, but it just kind of made sense to me that that's what bubbles mean. And just look at this beautiful peacock on the fence of the garden. It's just so charming and so cute. There's also a hashtag going around that I'm gonna use of Lisa Papez, I think, started that hashtag my cute decks or something like that. And this is one of my cute decks. I think I have, well, maybe more than two others, but obviously cute decks is the Halloween Tarot, I'd say. Cute and creepy. And then I also have the Tarot of the Magical Forest. Yeah. So this is never gonna change for me. It doesn't matter how long I make videos or how many I make. I always start a sentence, then halfway the sentence I think of something else and I finish that thought before finishing the actual initial sentence. Anyway, I was gonna say, look at this beautiful Tower card. There's a specific reason why I like this one, and I'll get into it. The reason this is my inner child deck is because of the artwork and the color palette. Looking at it, flipping through it, this is without a doubt the tarot deck that I would have chosen for myself had I had the chance to choose one when I was a child. it's so whimsical and dreamy. It's very 90s colors. The cold, more like frosty eyeshadow and all that stuff that we had going on. The hair glitter, you know. Not that I ever really had any of those, but it was that trend and these colors, colder, frosty colors, the baby blue, the light purple, lilac, all of that. There's that. And then there's also just the fact that I am a person who very much enjoys being alone, and I never changed in that sense. I enjoy being around people, definitely, friends and family and having a good time, but I am perfectly comfortable alone. I mean, I don't get lonely, I don't get bored. uh, my overly active imagination keeps me entertained. So I've always been this way, also as a kid. And this dreamy, beautiful world definitely reflects just, I feel, my childhood, in the sense of this is the fairy world that I went to in my mind, in my dreams, in my imagination. And it's a safe space and it's a safe place. And it's still to this day inspiring and helpful to be creative or to, as I said, not get bored. It's just a lovely and helpful, I guess, quality. Because of, for instance, making a story with still pictures, including the ones that are a little bit more pippish, like this Two of Cups. We don't see people coming together. We do see two butterflies, but you see, it's always kind of like in the garden. It's the moon garden, and we'll get into that. But you see, it's just two cups in the end that make this card the Two of Cups. So having an active imagination and being able to tap into that, it's really helpful, I think, as a tarot reader, no matter how pippish or scenic the cards are that you work with. And then also adding that to it, the magical work, there's a lot of visualization going on, visualizing how a specific energy is moving or is forming through the space or forming inside of you, or where you want to travel. Like this lover's card, let's do some path working and step into this card and step through the borders of the card and meet these tree people and talk to the tree and talk to the ferns and, feel the grass on the feet, on the soles of the feet, etc. And actually get a full idea and a picture of and a feeling and a sense and all of that, just like the full 360 degrees with all your senses, you know, on awakened during a pathworking session. That is so helpful for tarot, so helpful for magical intention work. So yeah, to this day, it's definitely a muscle that I don't think I ever stopped training, however unaware I was of it. I have the original little booklet. I also have the original box though, but since it's one of those older flimsy tuck boxes, I decided to make a sturdier box myself. And I mean, as you can see, this one is definitely dedicated to this deck, because this is what the swords look like in this deck. Here's the Two of Swords, and all the hilts of the swords have dragonflies. The swords being air makes perfect sense here, because in every card the swords seem to be flying away. And in almost every card there's a moon, but there most of all is a lot of greenery. So we get a lot of ferns, which is a personal reason why I love this, because maybe you know this, I don't know. I don't speak about it a lot, but I am part Corsican. Actually, I'm half French from Corsica, and the area that we are from has a lot of green. The earth is moist. I know people don't like that word, but yeah, it's appropriate. It actually does get cold there in the area where I'm from. It's in the middle of the mountains, and we have a lot of ferns there. And they're actually beautiful. Ferns, I guess, could be categorized as weeds that you want to get rid of, but I personally love them, and many times have I considered a fern tattoo. It still hasn't happened, but wait, just first, 10 of swords, look at that. The 10 swords are flying away. So it's like a reverse gravity, which I love. I love that slightly softer meaning layer to the card. Okay, here, 5 of staffs, because wands or batons are staffs in this deck. Staffs are trees, tree trunks. So quite abstract, actually. If you don't know the Rider-Waite-Smith card with the people fighting, or actually rather doing that exercise, facing the challenge, then it might be difficult to interpret this card. But knowing the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery, like adding in the people, it's kind of like the pagan otherworlds, but not boring. Sorry, I had that deck and we didn't click. It was too minimalistic, even though I appreciate the beautiful artwork, definitely. But anyway, I digress. The reason I showed you this card is because of the amount of nature in it. First of all, the wands, they're just trees. Some of them fell over, some of them grew crooked, but no people around. And then we got all these ferns and different types of plants. And in the foreground, we even have mushrooms. So incredibly whimsical. Here is a very Merlin-looking magician, which is on the front of the tuck box. Not the new edition, that's another card, but the old edition, we got the magician on there. I absolutely adore this Ace of Cups. There's the full moon, I guess it's a moon, in the back. And there's even a crown, actually. Look, 10 of staffs. I love the busyness of this deck and the detail, because you have to look through the trees, to see everything. Here we have a unicorn. And again, many mushrooms. And in the distance, we even have a little castle. So let me show you again. I just absolutely love this. And I love trees. I love the woods. I love forests. I went to Schwarzwald, the Black Forest. I think that was now 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And with my partner and our dog. And we took these wonderful walks in different parts of that Black Forest. And every time it was a different scenery. It was a different fairy tale, really. And that's what I see here. There's a castle in the distance. I love old castles. There's just so much impossibility in here. Like we have the unicorn, we have Pegasi, I guess. Then just these beautiful woods that seem to be alive. I mean, I'm Snow White. Page of Cups, so very dreamy, and she's drinking out of a cup, and she is a fairy herself, and her eyes are very starry. And then we got this big air balloon in the back. And there's even a dolphin there jumping out of that wave. Also, I like the detail and the continuation of this deck, because that is one of the reasons I think that this deck is so good, so deep, so useful. And you really have to study the cards because there's so much hidden. I just get excited about it. That's one of the reasons that this deck I feel is underrated. I want to show you, okay, so the Ace of Pentacles with that Pegasus. And I know there's a lot of butterflies. It's not like butterflies and fairies really aren't my favorite things, but I mean, they've never been. But still, they somehow remind me of my childhood. So, why not? And it doesn't make sense to me that there's a butterfly in an earth card, although the pentacles being bubbles or planets, whatever you feel like, in this deck, yeah, it does make sense. Now, obviously, it's not the element of air, but okay, this is the card I wanted to show you, the Nine of Cups, because she really, really has beautiful mascara eyes, and her clothes are kind of 60s cool clothes, a cool dress, but she does appear very out of it, like she's tripping maybe, and I just see the stars in her eyes. All the other things that we see in this Nine of Cups, I mean, I think she drank the liquid that was in these cups, and I'm just wondering what exactly was in this liquid, because she might be hallucinating everything else that we see in this card. And what a beautiful trip it looks to be. One little annoyance that is just my own tarot pet peeve, sun card pet peeve, is how so many people hate on the baby on the horse, naked baby on the horse, or creepy baby on the horse. Like, absolutely fine if you think that. I just want to put in my 2 cents. First of all, it's never been a baby, okay? I don't know what you people call babies, but it's always a child, not a baby that you actually carry like this, that cannot hold up its own head. Even in the original Rider-Waite-Smith, it's always a child. And I've never seen that as creepy, personally. Also, it doesn't bother me because how nice is that symbolism of a nude child on the back of well, this is a Pegasus, white with rainbow wings, but on a white horse. All of that is symbolism for purity and renewal and being reborn. And that is the energy of life, the life force. The song that I associate with the sun card isn't Let the Sun Shine. Actually, it's another song from the Hair musical, but originally by Nina Simone, I Got Life. That song is the sun card to me. And um, I mean, I hope you understand what I'm saying. So just to give you another perspective on the sun card and the child in the sun card, that's how I see it. That's how I read it. And that's also why it never bothered me. So the first few times I heard on YouTube, and that was years ago, people went on and on about, oh, finally, there's a tarot deck without that creepy baby on the horse. I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, finally, let's get into the booklet, because I usually don't keep the little white books. But let's flip through a few of these cards as I read this. From time immemorial, humanity has gazed at the changing phases of the moon and imagined magical seas and gardens on its surface. In mythology, the moon is symbolic of psychic and magical powers. Scientists named the dark area of the moon's geography, I don't know if it says mares or mares, anyway, or seas because of their likeness to earthly bodies of water. In literature, creative minds such as Milton, Poe, Wells, and Verne. Okay, wait. That would be Edgar Allan Poe, Jules Verne? Oh my gosh, I don't know the other two. Maybe with the first name I would know them. Anyway, those authors have speculated about the enchanted terrain one might encounter on the moon. They describe whimsical creatures, such as unicorns, dragons inhabiting lush jungles of vegetation that grow to incredible heights in a single lunar day. Deep valleys undulate across the entire surface of the moon, and castles sit atop lofty mountains. Beneath this lunar Garden of Eden lies an underground world of deep, mysterious caverns, where insects of iridescent colors, possessing magical powers, flutter among exotic lunar flowers. The seas contain creatures ranging from serpents to dolphins. Flying chariots of all descriptions, and hot air balloons are said to be used to gain access to the lunar realm. From these magical images, the whimsical symbols used in the Tarot of the Moon Garden have emerged. The dragonfly forms the hilt of the suit of swords. Unicorns act as guides through the wonderland of the lunar landscape. Butterflies hover near wild mushrooms and lush ferns in the dense lunar forests. Dragons indicate areas for transformation and warn of temptation. One of the reasons why I love this death card is, see that moon there? See this? I mean, it's a stick and it's actually a flagpole because the death creature is holding the flag with, well, it doesn't look to be a Tudor rose, but you know, in a Rider-Waite-Smith, it's a Tudor rose. Except that at first glance, this pole, this stick seems to be attached to this moon and it looks like a scythe. So it's, I don't know if this was made purposefully, but I always love that it's both. We have death flying on a dragon, holding one of those, I forget the word, sand thingies, and then also the flag and the scythe. It's so special. Also, I can appreciate Lady Justice's style. Just look at that flowy, airy, barely there dress. Beautiful. Okay, so look at this Hierophant. He seems to be outside of the wall, which makes him the perfect bridge and gate. He acts like that between one world and the other because it's like Stonehenge, isn't it? And I feel like the moon garden is behind that gate. And he's almost guarding it, but also protecting it. And he is the one that you find within yourself before stepping through from one world to the other, like from this earthly plane to the astral plane. Really the guide, the spiritual guide between two worlds, as I said. There really is something to say for this deck. It's actually quite strong. Hot air balloons are sometimes sighted in the gardens of the moon, bringing visitors from other worlds. Ooh, I like that. Castles serve as welcome hospitality to those seeking shelter. Beneficent angels and playful fairies offer guidance and camaraderie as the seeker through the experiences of the major and minor arcana cards of the tarot. Dolphins inhabit the sapphire depths of the lunar seas, acting as helpful messengers for those who quest with a pure heart. And then the moon herself appears in many cards, presenting the triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone in her waxing full and waning faces, using the borrowed light of the sun to shed her moonlight upon her creations. That last word was creations. It's been a long day. It's 10:30 p.m. Okay. See, this is so good because it's not just a hangman. It's not just a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. It's not, there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, at a certain point, you kind of feel maybe there's too much of that. Not in every deck. Not in this deck. Because this deck added a different wisdom on top of the cards. This whole moon garden is actually a thing way before this deck came out. And then also, looking at the hangman a little more closely, we can see runes there. So who is this little fellow? Seems to be Odin, hanging from the tree. And I really love that. This Seven of Cups is making sky castles. Absolutely love this Three of Swords because we see the heart, but it's ferns curling together. Okay, I could show you every single card, but I mean, you just find that for yourself. If you want a full flip through, let me know. But I'm not going to get to the full flip through, although I will show you this High Priestess. How perfect is it that she is a mermaid? Because she knows the depth. You know that analogy of the High Priestess, how we see the top of the iceberg in water, and we don't realize however big that iceberg seems showing from the surface of the water. Actually, it's much, much bigger and deeper and unknown to us. What isn't shown, what's hidden underneath the waters, that is the High Priestess. That is the realm of the High Priestess. And she knows what we don't know. And so a mermaid makes sense. Also, I like her stern face. She's not taking any crap. A strange card, but I like it, is the Devil. Very colorful. Sun and moon, and we see a face of a man and a woman, and there's so many things we can see in that. Oh yeah, a reason why I like this Tower card is that it's, I think, the first deck that I remember seeing water on the bottom of the tower. Because in the Rider-Waite-Smith and in the Thoth, maybe, and in Marseille decks, the tower is situated somewhere else, okay? It's on the ground. But in most decks that I knew, we don't see what's underneath. We just see that the people fall, they fall into nothing, so they fall really, really deep. Except in this deck, they've added the sea and a big wave, and we can just barely see two legs still popping out of that water, meaning the person fell from that high tower, but it is, of course, shaken up, and it's gonna have to rebuild the entire world that this person has in the next card, in the star card. But that's what I mean. This person is fine. This person doesn't fall to their doom or to their death. Because we already had death, But it's falling into the water, and the water acts as that healing, that cleansing, that transformation, and basically it gets rid of all your clothes. It makes you, vulnerable and open. Yes, naked, like the creepy baby on the horse in the Sun card. It means it's a type of reborn. So, yeah, I just love that. See how there's a wall in this realm? Okay, here's the Chariot. Very starry. And just to show you the beautiful artwork of that dove in the Ace of Cups. I always like this Page of Pentacles chasing his coin, his pentacle. It's very reminiscent of Marseille decks, actually, and my favorite deck, the Triomphe della Luna, does that very similarly, actually. The Page of Coins is also chasing his coin or pentacle or disc or however you want to call it, because I think that one has wings. Three of Pentacles we see through a window. Ugh, and the Fool. The Fool itself should just give away the genius of this deck. The Fool has three legs, is in between night and day, and knows both worlds. It is about that higher consciousness. It's not just about taking the leap and starting over or beginning and being naive and going on that adventure. It's actually already a higher consciousness, because guess what? Going through the entire tarot, the book of life, the major arcana, we are the Fool. We embody the Fool. That is the Fool's journey, right? The quest of the Fool, our quest, our lifelong journey. Well, once we've reached the world, because that happens maybe 500 times a day, but at the same time also it happens just once in a lifetime. I'm gonna start singing Talking Heads now. Anyway, after reaching the world or the universe card, we start over in a sense. We find ourselves back to the Fool, on the other hand, it's not really like starting over because it's not exactly a circle. It's more like a spiral, and it's spiraling upwards. Because every time we reach the end of the journey of the tarot, we find ourselves back in the first trump. We find ourselves back in the fool's shoes, the fool's jester shoes in this case. Yet we know we have all that knowledge and baggage already with us. So that means that we are leveling up. So the fool embodies, therefore, nothing and everything, the entirety and nothing. So it's very contradictory, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense to me, except maybe my English vocabulary isn't big enough, large enough to explain this really well, but I tried, okay? But this is why I love this Fool card, because it reminds me of all of that. It reminds me of that higher consciousness. The Fool is not stupid. The Fool is not always a beginner. The Fool is the one we want to be. The one we are and the one we want to be. The one we are in the sense, of course, we have always so much to learn and we are naive. But also we want to be him because we want to almost appear completely stupid to the rest of the world who we know don't know. And I like that the Fool is holding a paintbrush. Very creative. Let me show you the star just because she's so very lovely. Oh, my battery died. What I was saying and showing to you was the star card. She's just so beautiful. I love the detail of the water. So yes, this deck is very charming. The artwork is beautiful. I mean, I like it. And I think you can see, as someone born in late 80s, having an entire childhood in the 90s, why this is my inner child deck. I know I share this as inner child deck with Lennon, who was born maybe not the same year, but you know, we've had a 90s childhood for sure, which we remember well. And it's just, this deck, I don't see this ever leaving my collection because of that very special connection, actually, that I see my childhood reflected in this deck, or at least my experience of what childhood was like. I was so very in my own head, in my own world, and just, like I said, with the biggest imagination, and this deck definitely helps that, you know. At the same time, it's just, again, if you just want to switch out your regular Rider-Waite-Smith with a similar deck, or a deck that you can probably read easily, but you know, having different color palette and different artists, different artwork, a different vibe and a different story, to be honest, this is a very suitable deck for that. Trying to find a card I haven't shown you yet, but that's actually quite a challenge. If you have any questions about this tarot deck, I know that it is regularly available. It's one of those mass market, not very expensive decks. I just happen to have the 90s version, but it's still in print and I hear good things about it. If you care to join the game that I play in my videos, please comment star underneath the video if you've made it this far. If you've made it this far and you have nothing else to say, then star is all I need to know, and I'll leave you a message and I'll like it. Or get creative and try to incorporate star in your comment, in what you have to say or ask me regarding this video, or you know, anything else that I might have posted on my channel. I want to just, I don't know, thank you for being here. It was nice hanging out with you, even though, you know, we're just all people talking to our cameras late at night. Anyway, I know I enjoyed it, and now I'm going to watch The Nanny. Oh man, it's so funny. Consider subscribing, and if you're new here, please let me know so I can properly welcome you to the channel. Maybe like this video, maybe not, and I will see you in the next one anyway. So, thanks so much, and see you soon.